work here, and we have to do more of it than we used to. In order to get results, far less results, satisfactory results than we used to. So we're working longer, harder to eke out meager results because we just as a nation and a people will not seem to give up and give in that easily. Now, granted, we have nearly 100 million people who used to work who don't work now. They're not in the labor force, which this U3 number, which gives the Obama administration a lie, a path to a lie, to say that the unemployment rate's it's 5.3 or 5.4 or it's 6% or what have you. You know, as it was going down, I told you people. I told people over and over and over again that the only way that Obama was going to get reelected is if, because remember back when they said unemployment was, 10.4, I think was the high. Remember when I said, and you can go back into the archives. I think you can get these archives on Blog Talk Radio from back then, from 2010, 11. I said back then, and I was right. I said back then, again, I was right. I can't help it. Just being logical and commonsensical. And Ecclesiastans know what's right. And for those of you in Rush Limbaugh's Realinda, Ecclesiastans are basically fans of the Rod Eccles Show. I guess by fiat, they're fans of me and my wisdom, whatever it is. They're fans of that. They study that. So they're Ecclesiastans. But I said back then that if Obama was going to get reelected, that the unemployment rate was going to have to be below 8%. It was going to have to be at 8% or below. And I said, now you watch as they methodically over the next whatever time frame to the general election in 2012, that you're going to see the unemployment rate systematically fall, in that it was going to get under 8%. And lo and behold, that kept happening. The unemployment rate kept going lower and lower. And even though the economy wasn't growing, they weren't creating new jobs. More people were falling out of the labor force. Yet and still, the unemployment rate kept dropping until it hit, I think it got 7.9%. And I said then, now Republicans have a problem. Mitt Romney has a problem. Mitt Romney is probably going to lose this election because unemployment is now below 8%. And lo and behold, Mitt Romney lost the election. Because the lie was told by the Obama administration that unemployment was below 8% when it really wasn't. It was still the real unemployment number was still above 12% at the time. And that the lamestream media was going to tout this false, fake number, this useless number, and that they were going to promote it. And they did promote it. And people thought, well, maybe things aren't so bad after all. What he's doing is actually working. So we need to give him another chance. We can't change now. What he's doing is actually working. That's what a lot of people who voted for Obama a second time, who now regret doing that, are revealing. Well, we thought he was on the right track because, things were supposedly changing. They weren't changing, but that's what the lamestream media led us to believe, because the Obama administration was giving us all these fake numbers and fake data, this unreal data that said that whatever Obama was doing was actually working. And it wasn't. And it's still not. It's still not working. In fact, today I heard all over the place today that, Obama will be leaving office and leaving the Democrat Party in the weakest, worst position that they have been in since the end of World War II. Really? And people think, the other day when I was on Rachel Hammer's show, there was a a liberal who called in. His name, all I know is that his name was Richard. At least that's what they called him. He called in. And he was trying to chat, because Richard was also a black man. And he was trying to chastise me about, how everybody loved Obama and that they love Obamacare. I said, well, that's a lie. You're spouting. I'm not even going to say that Richard believes in this lie, because I don't think he does. But he's just out there because he was trained by liberal, radical Saul Alinsky-ites to continue telling lies, and enough people will eventually believe you. But how, Obama was so loved, in that his policies were so loved, and that the Democrat Party was so loved. And what I did not get a chance to tell him is that, really, if he was so loved, why is it in two midterm elections, even though Obama was reelected in 2012, why in two midterm elections in 2010 and 2014 were the Democrats so shellacked that over those two election periods, they have a net loss of over 1,000 seats across the country at various levels of government? And I got to tell you, that number, the numbers that it was like 700 and something changed hands in 2010. It was the biggest peacetime transfer of power in world history. But if you take, well, there was a slight reversal. The Democrats regained very few seats along with Obama's reelection in 2012, but in 2014, not only did they lose what little they gained, but they even lost even more. And in 2014, what happened? They also lost the Senate. Well, they didn't fully lose control of the Senate, because, we have a couple of rhinos who are in the Republican leadership in the House and in the Senate. But at least in name only, by party affiliation, Democrats lost even more ground. And poll after poll after poll after poll after poll right now is basically saying that Democrats are just going to get their policies. Nobody trusts them. They're being thwacked. They're being throttled. They're being hammered. They're being, wapowed, if you will. It wasn't that remember the old campy Batman TV series? Love that thing. Just think about whenever Batman and Robin used to get in a fight with the bad guys, like the Joker and the Riddler and Penguin and their minions. And every time, they'd really swing and really get a good swing in, or a good swing got in on the Batman or Robin, there was, the big cartoon kapow or bam that came across the screen, right? Well, this is the same thing just picture that every time somebody talks about how the Obama administration lost in 2010 and 2014. Just bam, kapow. They got shellacked. And what Richard doesn't want you to know, which is really kind of stupid, because it's just out there. I mean, you can't not know this. And poll after poll after poll, even liberal-leaning polls, are showing that the American people do not like Obamacare. They want it gone. They did not like, they liked Obama personally, I guess personally enough to reelect him. But other than that, the polls now are showing that a lot of people who even voted for Barack a second time regret not only voting for him a second time, but regret voting for him for the first time. Now, I don't know when you've had polls, either right-leaning or left-leaning, that you had so many people who had voter remorse, not only for the most recent past election, but the one before that. So you didn't have people expressing that kind of remorse for electing and re-electing Ronald Reagan. You didn't have that kind of regret for people who elected or re-elected George W. Bush. But my gosh, are they out there in numbers with their regret for re-electing and electing Barack Hussein Obama. Now, this is the kind of stuff that liberals just don't like to hear. And they always try to get you by saying, well, give us a link. And see, as I've said, I've learned about this give me a link type of stuff. I don't play that game anymore. Homie don't play that anymore. Because what I have, and I even tested this, and what I found out is that I don't even think that when they request a link or you give a link, that they even click through and go to the link. And now you're probably saying, well, Rod, how do you know that? This is how I know. I know that if they ask for a link or demand a link, or you just offer a link, they will demagogue and dismiss that link as being useless. It's right wing. It's all that kind of stuff. It's full of lies. And I've proven how factless and baseless the left is when they do this. Because there have been times when, believe it or not, the Huff and Puff Huffington Post agrees with me. And I've pasted links to the Huffington Post for them to go at. And they still claim, oh, that link is terrible. That everybody knows it's a false. It's fake. Right. All you righties give the same links over and over again. And then I trap them and say, well, the Huffington Post is not right wing. It's left wing. Everybody knows that. This information comes from the Huffington Post. So you're saying your own liberal information centers that you usually go to the Huffington Post an awful lot, you're saying that they're liars and fakes and right-leaning? Well, I realized that all they wanted to do was try to disparage the link. They didn't care where the link came from. They weren't even going to it anyway. So I stopped giving out links. And I started telling them, well, if you want the real information, look it up. Oh, man, you want to talk about flipping out the left. Oh, well, you can't back it up. I said, look, and I explained to them exactly why I don't provide these links anymore. And they're like, well, you got to do that if you're going to say, no, I don't. And the reason is because if you go look it up yourself and you find all of those facts and you find all those links, you're going to believe those links or that information even more because you found it. You saw it, you clicked on it, you read it or reviewed it, and it had nothing to do with me. I'm just telling you to Google it or Bing it, and it's easy for you to find. You're going to come up, look, this is what you look for. This is the subject that we're talking about. Google that subject. And they don't want to do that. They don't want to do the work. They want you to do it for them. And I refuse to do their work for them because all it is going to do is just give them, once you fall into that trap. Now, this is what you need to understand and do, folks, is if you're trying to provide, satisfactory links to the left, you're not going to be able to do it. So you have to stop doing it and say, do your own homework like I did. Just Google it or Bing it, whatever, or whatever, system or search engine that you use. Just go ahead and do it. Do the subject matter that, tell them what the subject matter is that you look for, and that's how you found the information, so they can go and look up the same thing. And then, they will see something from Huffington Post or Salon or some ABC News or MSNBC or CNN. Or some left-leaning college professor. And who are they going to argue with then? They can't argue with you because you told them to go look, and if they are smart enough and not lazy, and they did go look, well, who's at fault now? Who's wrong? Well, not you. They are. Plain and simple. I don't know. I stopped playing their game, and you need to stop playing their game as well, because you can't win when you're playing by their rules. So what you always have to do with the left is flip it so they play by the real rules, the fair rules, which are your rules. Then they can't disparage you or your information simply because it's the information that they looked up and got themselves, and then they will know the truth. And if they do not accept the truth then, well, you're free. It's they who are the idiots and who are not following the truth and logic. Don't doubt me, folks. It works.